Hello there! Skip ahead to the timestamp on the screen if you just want to get to the content and skip the intro. This is a video I've had in the back of my mind for a while now. I've been playing TF2 on and off for almost 11 years, probably longer than most of my audience, whom YouTube says is mostly college age. As a certified old-timer, I've picked up a lot of random knowledge, including this list of long-time exploits that have been left in the game for years. There was a time when the game was updated a lot more often, and anytime some big YouTuber like Delfy posted a video showing an exploit, hundreds of people would go out and do it, triggering a patch by Valve soon after. I mean, kind of like how Halloween works now, but at different times of year. A lot of exploits still slipped through the cracks though, and I've tried to compile a list of them. Not a complete list, just a list. There aren't any hard rules for me to have included an exploit here, but I generally went for ones that were old, like years old, and ones that I personally knew to exist without needing to look them up online. And a lot of them are publicly posted online already if you know where to look, on YouTube channels like Delfy and its predecessors, and even on the Team Fortress 2 wiki itself. I have tried to expand on my source material and add a couple exploits that aren't documented anywhere outside of this video that I'm aware of, but this is still just kind of a compilation video. Oh, and I didn't include any MVM exploits or any holiday map exploits because that would be a very long list. Or anything that's really just standing in a sneaky spot. Maybe I'll make a sneaky spot video some other day. That'll be fun. Anyway, let me know in the comments if you've seen any of these before, and be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, and maybe try some of these for yourself. If this video gets enough people doing these exploits, maybe it'll force Valve to release an emergency patch this week like in days of old. I mean, probably not, but I'd appreciate it anyway. Let's start off with a simple one, shooting through the window jam on Payload Frontier. After the third point is capped, blue snipers are able to stand in the right flanking route that opens and shoot through the left and right window jams. It's not that powerful considering the narrow field of vision and the fact you can't see what you're shooting very well, but it allows even a mediocre sniper like me to completely shut down enemy engineers and snipers perched on the observation deck above the point, without needing to expose yourself to counter-sniping. Now, I'm not a mapper, so I can't explain the technical reason why this works, so if you do, let me know. While we're talking about Frontier, let's bend the rules a bit, because I had actually forgotten about this one until looking at the Frontier wiki page to see if it had an explanation for those window jams. It didn't, but it did remind me that you can shoot sticky bombs into the spawn room that serves as Red's second spawn and Blue's fourth spawn. All you have to do is stand on the observation deck overlooking the big hill and aim at the sky over the spawn room. There's an invisible ceiling, and hitting it will cause stickies to drop right down into the small room where players spawn. You can watch the scoreboard to time your detonations for when players respawn, and I'm sure with a bit of practice you can get the stickies to land more precisely within the room than what I'm showing you here. You're very vulnerable when doing this, of course, because you're staring at the sky and paying attention to the scoreboard instead of the gameplay, and FYI, this exploit is a lot easier to pull off as Red than Blue. It's not that hard to get behind the enemy team when you're on Red, and you can even get a friendly Engie to leave a sneaky teleporter somewhere behind enemy lines. And Frontier isn't the only map where you can shoot stickies into spawn. There's also Payload Upward, CP Steel, and Payload Hoodoo on the second stage. These are all less powerful than the Frontier exploit because you're shooting into a larger spawn area rather than a tiny room. You're not really spawn camping so much as setting up sticky traps in really silly locations that nobody will suspect. The only tactical advantage you could hope to gain from this is dropping an Uber charge before the gates open or something. Remember to taunt for maximum lulls. Now let's take a break from all of this spawn killing and do one so convoluted that I'm not even going to bother to try replicating it in a real game. You can place teleporters through the shuttered windows of the map room on Badwater before the room is supposed to be accessible. Unfortunately, you have to do this at exactly the right moment as you fall past the opening, which is faster than human reflexes can handle, so it's kind of hard to pull off. I wasn't even convinced that it was still possible until I turned on cheats and set the gravity to basically nothing to make it easier. Since then, I've finally managed to recreate a way to do it somewhat reliably without cheats, which I'll throw up on the screen for you. This is obviously much easier to pull off on red, but it can be done as either a red or a blue engineer, either to troll your teammates by trapping them, or to set up some cheeky sentry guns. In the case of blue team, you can annoy red at spawn until the map room unlocks, and in the case of red, you can have a nasty surprise waiting for blue when the door opens. Not really an MVM glitch, but more of a user interface glitch. Many moons ago, Valve finally implemented what everyone thought was a sensible idea at the time: preventing clueless newbies from queuing up for expert man up before they've at least played some advanced first. Unfortunately for them, the ban is very simple to get around. All you have to do is glitch the menu by selecting expert, exiting out of the menu, and opening it again. The ban warning will have been bypassed and you can select missions normally. I don't actually recommend that new players do this, since the difficulty tiers have a legitimate purpose, but it's really fun to join expert with a Gibbous Vision Smurf account and play vanilla spy or something like that to give tryhards a heart attack. It can also be a good way for experienced boot camp or community server players with no actual man-up experience to get into expert without spending money on advanced, if any such people actually exist. If this exploit sounds familiar, that's probably because I released a short about it last year and also submitted it to Delfy's channel, where it got included in a compilation video, making it one of the exploits that I actually take credit for independently discovering. Here's another exploit that was already featured on this channel before, in this old video that hopefully I've remembered to add an interactive card for and a link to in the description. But I've waited for years to explain how it actually worked because I was saving it for when I actually got around to making this video. Everyone knows that you can build teleporters in Blue's second and third spawns on Egypt. This is actually kind of nice because it allows engineers to build teleporter entrances in spawn where they're safe from enemy attack, and also to prep sentry guns during setup. However, it also means that unscrupulous engineers can build teleporter exits in spawn, allowing enemy spies to get inside and backstab helpless teammates. If you're supposed to be allowed to build in spawn, it's not really an exploit, just an opportunity for trolling. So where's the exploit? Well, it's right here in Red's third spawn, where the no-build triggers don't cover the threshold of this door, allowing Red NGs to get in on the fun of spawn killing their teammates too. I think that I discovered this one independently as well through sheer dumb luck, but honestly it's been so long that I can't possibly remember where I got this anymore. You can also put a teleporter in the downstairs of the red spawn on the last stage of Goldrush, but it's a lot less sneaky and I don't take credit for that spot. Oh yeah, and there's this neat little nook on the first stage of Egypt where you're not supposed to be able to place a teleporter either. Back when I was just a baby TF2 player, I used to try and sneak back here before the first point was capped and get my team a secret teleporter to the last point. Now for probably the most powerful and most needing to be patched exploit on this entire list: defending point A on CP steel like a coward. It turns out that fire particles go through these doors, so you can just go backburner pyro and crit enemies from behind when they think their backs are safely against the wall. It does work both ways, so if any enemy pyros are smart enough to shoot back, they can hurt you too, but otherwise you're almost completely safe until the doors open. The reason this is so OP is that it doesn't require any special setup. You can just leave spawn and start killing helpless enemies who can't see you, all while making it significantly harder to cap the point. Continuing with the theme of doing things through walls, it's possible to block the payload cart through thin walls. Usually, the spy is the best class for this since you can easily wait in hiding as the cart approaches. The easy version of this exploit that everyone knows how to do is on the first stage of Goldrush, where you can wait in this corner and block the cart through the fence. You're pretty exposed when you do this, so traditionally this is attempted with the box trot taunt. And good luck with that, since the box trot is clearly labeled with team colors and not so clearly labeled with a description of its contents. Or maybe that's just my graphic settings, I don't know. But like I said, everyone knows about this trick. If you really want to confuse blue team, you're gonna have to be more clever than that. For example, on Upward, you can walk along the wooden trusses that support the ramp up to the third point using the cloak and dagger. Right before the cart is about to pass over you, you can uncloak and block the cart. An even weirder version of this is on the first stage of Thunder Mountain. If you wait cloaked on the right spot of the movable bridge after the first point, the bridge will start to lift you up along with it. However, your head will be blocked before reaching the level of the tracks, so your player model will clip through the bridge, leaving you hanging from the bottom by your head. When blue team tries to push the cart across the bridge, you'll block it. In all of these cases, you'll mostly just succeed in causing a few funny moments of confusion and surprise. Eventually, some clever member of the other team will come find you and dislodge the cart. Another way to block the cart is from inside of it. I think this is technically possible several different ways, but without an accomplice on the other team, the most realistic way to pull off in a real game that I'm aware of is on the final point of Goldrush. Again, it's best to be cloak and dagger spy. When blue team is about to make their final push and cap the cart, you want to be standing on top of the dump truck. As the cart passes, jump in front of it, crouch, and try not to get pushed out of the way. You'll get stuck on the ground right before the cart reaches the cap and start clipping through the cart. When that happens, decloak inside the cart and it'll stop moving, leaving the blue team very confused and unable to cap until one of them spots a part of your body sticking out. If you do have an accomplice on blue team, you can also just do the same thing almost anywhere on any map by having your friend build a teleporter on the tracks in front of the cart. Also, this one I actually do know where I learned it from. It's this OpenGriefing video from 2014 that I rediscovered while researching to try and remember how to do the Badwater map room exploit. Link in the description. Our last Goldrush exploit is that you can put sentries inside of these doorways for the conveyor things near the end of the second and the middle of the third stage. They're not really very strong sentry spots, and it's difficult to reliably shoot Rescue Ranger bolts into them, but it's worth a few laughs when you get surprise kills. Now for one that's actually been used against me. I wasn't able to figure out how to do it by myself though, so I had to find a Steam guide to help me. Link in the description. It's actually made by a YouTuber known as Flare, who has more subscribers than me and released a video last year in a similar spirit to this one called 1 Hour of Super Secret TF2 Knowledge, so maybe go check that out too. Anyway, on Yukon, extremely popular map, I know, there's a small gap in the clip brushes near Blue's second point. As the engineer, you can sentry jump into this gap and build a nest, or invite your friends and build a few nests. The sentry spots up there don't have very good coverage though, so you might be better off just leaving a teleporter up there for your teammates to use. It's a good place for blue snipers to defend from, or a good stealth spot for red team to sneak behind the enemy. There actually used to be a lot of leave the map exploits like this, including ones that were way more powerful, but most of them have been patched, except every time new Halloween maps drop. And yes, I assume that soldiers and demos can jump up there too, but they can only do so much without a teleporter and a dispenser. Finally, let's finish up with some soldier exploits. When the soldier taunts with the equalizer or the escape plan, he lifts a grenade above his head and blows himself up, along with any enemies around him. However, if he happens to be standing under a low ceiling, the explosion will take place on the other side of the ceiling, ideally with some enemy players standing there, blowing them up and usually leaving the soldier unharmed. The easiest place to do this is probably Suijin, since there are a ton of high-traffic bridges that you can walk under. There's also the bridge on the second stage of Thunder Mountain, but there's a good chance you'll get caught, and you really only have one chance to blow the enemy team up as the cart crosses the bridge. A sneakier and trickier place to do this is on Upward, where there are actually two spots useful for blue team. The first is on top of the crates in the spiral stairwell area. Usually you won't survive this one because you're not close enough to the ceiling, but you can potentially blow up a red engineer and maybe his dispenser on the battlements overlooking the last point. The second is by standing on this wooden strut over the stairs. You'll survive the blast as long as you stay close enough to the wall, and you can potentially blow up enemies trying to guard the room at the top of the stairs. Last but certainly not least, there is one weapon that can continue to fire, or rather misfire, during humiliation when you've lost the round: the Beggar's Bazooka. For best results, be on red team and equip the battalion's backup to negate the critical hits that you're about to get hosed with, and maybe bring a friend with another banner to make the exploit even more powerful. What you want to do is get your backpack fully charged and then fall back to spawn, or another safe spot, before your team loses the round. The second before the final point is capped, deploy your banner and start loading your bazooka. The bazooka won't be able to fire if the point is capped, but as long as you keep holding down attack, it'll keep loading rockets. Starting with the fourth round, it'll begin to misfire, hurting you and everyone around you. Of course, you've got the battalion's backup, so you can probably survive more rockets than they can. All you've got to do is walk into the enemy team as a human fireworks display and go on a short suicide rampage through a bunch of people that are expecting free kills with no resistance. Obviously, there's no tactical value to this, since it basically requires losing on purpose before you can even do the exploit, but it is quite funny. Many years ago, I once took out 4 players with a single crit rocket this way, and I still cry myself to sleep at night because I didn't record it. Anyway, that's all I've got. Yes, I sound a bit different because I'm getting over being sick. I hope you enjoyed something a bit different from this channel for a change, so maybe let me know in the comments which of these was your favorite. If anyone watching still works on updating the wiki, please add some of these that are missing. Until next time, cheers.